What is going on, Nav Nation, and welcome back to another video. Earlier this year, it marked 5 years that I have been investing, collecting, and creating a business around this hobby of Pokemon cards. So I thought today I would sit down and share some of the big lessons that I've learned throughout these last 5 years, things that I think will help many of you out there who are just getting started in this hobby, who are just getting started investing in Pokemon cards. Now, 5 years isn't a tremendous amount of time, especially when you compare that to many of the old school collectors out there, but also during that time, it's a good amount of time to understand how this market operates and also to see a lot of the swings. I've been able to see a lot of the ebbs and flows, the ups and the downs in this market. So I think today's lessons will certainly help a lot of you out there. And speaking of anniversaries, this Wednesday, May 12th, marks the 1-year anniversary of this YouTube channel. And as a big thank you to all of you for your continued support, I am going to be doing a live Q&A on Wednesday where you guys can ask me any of the questions that you want in regards to YouTube and everything that I've learned in this journey of creating content here on this platform. And on top of that, guys, what I'm asking you to do is we are getting so close to 10,000 subscribers as part of this awesome community. And if we can hit 10,000 subscribers by this Wednesday, then I will do our first giveaway of several as part of this milestone. And the first products that I will be giving away are 4 Burning Shadows booster packs, and that will go to 1 lucky member of the Nav Nation. So let's try to hit that milestone by this Wednesday, guys, so we can celebrate the anniversary and 10,000 subscribers as part of this amazing community. So let's go ahead and jump right into these 5 lessons that I've learned over the last 5 years of investing in Pokemon cards. And the first one here right off the bat, this is an adage that we used a lot in the financial markets, and I think it's very much pertinent to the Pokemon market as well. And that is, it's not about timing the market, it's time in the market. And here's what I mean by that. If you compare Pokemon cards to, let's say, the stock market. Now, in crisis years, the stock market, the Dow Jones specifically, has been down as much as 50%. And during those times, we have record numbers of net liquidations. But if you compare that to the gains, let's take, for instance, 2009, when the Dow Jones was down 50%. If you look at the gains over time, for people who stayed the course, that's really the big thing here, is staying the course. The gains on those lows were as much as 200% from the bottom of the market. So that's really the big thing that I would want to stress here. And as I said, it also pertains very much to the Pokemon markets, is you want to stay the course. The market itself is going to go through various cycles of ebbs and flows, of peaks and valleys. The most important thing here is you want to position yourself so that you can ride out those lows in the market and you can take advantage of the successes and the peaks in the market as well. This is something that is very important, not just in Pokemon, but really all financial markets, is being able to allow yourself to be in it for the long term, not being necessarily a fickle investor, because those are the ones that usually get burned so quickly in the end. And we have shown time and time again that those that stay in the market for the long term, that ride out those lows, they have higher gains in the long term when things are all said and done. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you can't take advantage of peaks in the market. Let's take, for example, when the base set unlimited PSA 9 Charizard was starting to hit highs around $5,000. Now, that doesn't mean that if you feel that the market is peaked that you can't take advantage of that, sell at that high price, and maybe make a substantial gain on your initial investment. The problem with that is that for most people, they always think that the next peak is just right around the corner. And when that doesn't happen, or in this case, when that PSA 9 Charizard falls by more than half, people panic and they sell their investments immediately. And I can almost guarantee you that the price that you saw with the low on that Charizard, it will come back up and over time will more than likely exceed the high that you were seeing prior. So it's all about staying the course and really understanding what your long-term vision is for your investments. Where do you see these in the future? Where do you see yourself as far as your overall investment portfolio? It's really a good idea to get a holistic outlook on that so that you don't get caught up in that fickle type of investing and selling, when the market is at its bottom, or getting too excited and selling a product or a card too early before it has really reached its most substantial value. The next big thing on our list, in my opinion, would be to diversify the cards and the products in your overall portfolio as much as you possibly can. And again, you'll see here that a lot of these themes resonate not just in Pokemon, but throughout various markets. I've been involved in a lot of different markets, from financial to real estate to cryptocurrency, and really this theme of diversification, it rings true and it holds true throughout all of those various markets. And this is really a tried and true form of investing. And the reason being is that when we're taking, for example, Pokemon, if there is one area of the market that is really struggling, generally there is another area that is excelling, that is doing quite well. We can take, for example, vintage booster boxes, especially the early sets, base set, jungle, fossil. We've seen retraces recently for many of those early sets, but at the same time, we haven't necessarily seen retraces on other products released during WotC, like the Neo sets. Many of those sealed booster boxes have actually increased in value. We've seen the same thing with graded cards from those early WotC sets, where we've had a retrace. There's been a price decline for many of those, whereas many Neo era cards, graded cards, especially of gem mint status, have continued to increase in value. And then if you start to look out at many of the middle era sets, the Diamond and Pearl, the EX cards, the Black and White era, sealed products, graded cards, many of those continue to increase in value despite many of the retraces that you see in those early sets. So the important thing here is to understand that no matter what one area of the market is doing, it's not necessarily indicative of another area. And as you guys know, there's a lot of different niches within Pokemon that you can invest in. There is sealed products, there is graded cards, there's also within that you have modern products, ultra modern products, you have vintage products, you have more value type of investing where cards that are maybe being overlooked or undervalued by the overall market, picking those up. There's a lot of recurring themes here, and I've said it before, between the financial markets, the stock market specifically, and the Pokemon market. And you can really utilize a lot of those same strategies within this area. And it's something that I've done from the very beginning. As you guys know, I have a strong background in finance. I was a former financial advisor. So I used a lot of these same strategies in Pokemon, and I found them very valuable in creating long-term success, whether it was in investing or whether it was in business. I found that having a diversified portfolio has really set me up for success over the course of this last 5 years and really moving forward into the future for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years and beyond. The next big lesson that I've learned over these last 5 years that I think is really important to understand is the difference between collecting, investing, and creating a business around Pokemon cards. And I've said it before, I think that it's so fantastic that this hobby offers all three of these different aspects to us. And even if you're saying to yourself, PokéNav, I've never been an investor, I've never been a business person, well, sometimes you have to step back and think that most of us really have had a hand in each of these areas at some point. If you've ever held a product off to the side and waited to see where the value went in the future, then you are an investor. If you've ever sold any products out on the open market or even to your local card game shop, well, guess what? That is a business. It really depends on the scale at which you're doing these things. But the important thing here is to understand the difference between all three of these. And arguably over the last 5 years, this has been one of the most difficult aspects for myself, is understanding what products, what cards I'm going to be keeping for my collection, what products and cards I'm going to be investing in that I understand I will be selling at some point in the future, and what products and cards I am going to have as part of my overall business endeavor. And I think the most important thing here to help you in this is creating an outline of what your goals are, both short-term and long-term, and what you want to achieve. So for myself, what I've learned over time is that my collection, I don't need a huge collection to be satisfied. There's a lot of products out there that I really don't have any aspirations to have as part of a collection. Whereas in the beginning, I felt like I wanted to collect everything. And in the end, what I found was that it was hard to part with those products that I really didn't want to keep as part of my collection, but I was somehow convincing myself that I needed, whereas it would have been better suited as part of an investing or a business strategy. And it goes the same with investing as well, understanding what products you want to have, that you want to acquire, that are strictly for investing purposes, and the same thing for business, understanding what kind of products that you want to have as part of your business venture that maybe can create more capital that you can then use to either reinvest back into long-term investments, or that you can use to purchase products or cards that you're then adding to your collection. But the main thing here, the core of this, is that you want to understand this going in. Create a blueprint for yourself so you understand where you're going to be in 5 years, 10 years, and where all of this really falls in line in the scope of your overall strategy. The next big lesson that I've learned over these last 5 years of investing in Pokemon cards is that it's important to start small and scale your way up. Very often we feel pressured by maybe content that we see online or from other people out there that are flexing and showing off these massive collections or these massive investment deals that have gone through. It's very easy for us to feel pressured into thinking that we have to go all in on Pokemon cards, that we have to put everything into this. And what I can tell you is that for most people is not a sustainable strategy. Now, for me personally, every business or investment venture that I've ever gotten into, I've always started small and then I've scaled to the extent that I feel comfortable with. So even outside of Pokemon, when I started into real estate, I actually started with the home that I had purchased. So when I got out of college, I saved up money. I was able to put a down payment on a home. I lived in that home for about a year and a half, 2 years. I then moved out of that home, rented it, and then used the income that I was generating off of the rent to then put a down payment on another home that I then rented again. And it was just these slow incremental movements in the right direction. But it all started with one initial investment that I was comfortable with, that I could afford, and then I built it up from there. And it is the same thing with Pokemon cards, in that when I started out, I started with what I had. I started with the cards and products that I had just laying around that weren't doing anything other than collecting dust. And I started to get those graded. I started to flip some of those cards. I started to build capital that I was then reinvesting back into bigger products, into more higher end products. And then I just allowed that snowball effect to take its course. And that's what I would recommend here as well, is understand that all of those incremental steps that you're taking right now that may seem small and may seem trivial, those really compound upon themselves over the long term. And what seems like something that is insignificant to you 5 years from now, when you look back on what that has garnered and how that has really increased your overall portfolio, you will be tremendously surprised. But it's all about that consistency. It's all about taking the steps in the right direction, doing those things that you're comfortable with, that don't overstretch your means, that you don't over leverage yourself. That's really the best approach, as I said, not just in Pokemon, but really in any type of investing strategy. And I've also had the opportunity, as part of the Pokemon Masterclass podcast, to speak to so many of the biggest collectors, the biggest investors out there. And the recurring theme among all of them is they started in the same place. They started maybe with one niche, they started with one card, maybe one booster box, and then they just slowly built up from there. And then over time, the amount of capital that they have, the amount of the means that they have to acquire more products, it compounds upon itself, and they're able to amass these large collections or these large investment portfolios. But they all started small. They all started in a similar manner and then just allowed that to build upon itself. And finally, the last lesson that I have learned over the last 5 years of investing in Pokemon cards, and this is arguably the most important one, and that is connections are key. And that goes to your business connections, your investment connections, your any connections, even just friends out there. The important thing, in my opinion, is to put yourself out there and connect with others in this community. I cannot tell you how many opportunities have come my way because I've put myself out there. I've reached out to other members in the community, and that has really transpired into an enormous amount of opportunities for me. Not, as I said, not just in investing, but business-wise, the amount of other connections, residual connections that I've made through friends that I've garnered in the community. I just can't tell you how important this is. So if you're not doing so already, reach out to other people. Reach out to myself. Reach out to your favorite content creators. Reach out to your favorite collectors or investors out there that you see. Reach out to your local card shop owner. They are a wealth of information. You guys have seen a lot of the interviews that I've done with Rocky. That was seriously, guys, that was just stopping in one day to a card shop that I had never been to. He happened to be there. We made the connection, and now he is my distributor for the products that you see on the website. But had I never stopped in there, had I never taken the time to speak with him, to build that relationship, probably never would have been in the opportunity that I am right now. If I hadn't created this YouTube channel and got all of the friends and acquaintances and others that I reached out to within the realm of YouTube, I wouldn't be where I am right now, and we wouldn't be on the road to 10,000 subscribers either. So again, guys, this is so important in my opinion, and beyond just building a network of people that you can build your investment portfolio. In the end, it's also building lasting relationships, lasting friendships that go far beyond any of this, that will last a lifetime. When it's all said and done, the relationships and the friendships that you make in this hobby, that's really what it's all about. So that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed these lessons that I've learned over the last 5 years of investing in Pokemon cards, and I hope that it helps you all in your journey, whether you've been doing this for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or whether you are just starting out in this hobby. I hope that some of this information has resonated with you and that it helps you in your overall journey in this amazing hobby. Other than that, guys, I will see you all next time. My name is PokéNav. I'm here to help you navigate the world of Pokemon one video at a time, and I will see you all in the next video.